Hey everyone, welcome back to Skip and Buy. Here is why. Today we're taking a closer look at Civilization Part 7. So in this one we're gonna have a look if this is the next great one of the legendary 4X franchise, or did Firaxis take a step too far in the wrong direction. When I was taking a look myself at the various reviews of this game, I could tell that this game has sparked debate among critics. While sites like GameRant and GameSpot praised the game, Eurogamer is far less impressed. IGN and PC Gamer sit in the middle. But there's a lot of daylight between the highest rewarding sites and the lowest reviewing sites. And if we compare it with the latest release, Civilization VI and V, they scored way better than this one does. So for me this really begs the question, is it worth a buy or should you skip it for now? To answer that question, we are breaking down Civilization VII into essential takeaways. These are the things you actually want to know before making a decision whether to buy it or to hold out a little longer, or maybe to skip it altogether. So here we go, and first off are my first impressions. Having played all the games in the Civ world from the early days when Part 1 came out till the marvelous Part 6, I feel that this is still Civilization at its core. It all feels so familiar as you start with a humble settlement and build it up into a world-dominating empire, either through warfare, culture, diplomacy or sheer economic might. So in that sense the game hasn't changed at all. But under this surface I feel that Firaxis shook up the formula in some pretty dramatic ways. And some work and some don't, that's just how it is. Okay, so far about my first impressions. Now it's time to talk a bit more about the story and the world building. And yeah, let's face it, Civilization isn't really well known for its story. But Civ 7 tries to inject a bit more narrative into its structure. As usual, you choose a leader, but this is the main difference, they are no longer tied to specific civilizations. Which in all honesty for me it felt a bit odd, so you can have Machiavelli leading the Mongols or Napoleon running the Greeks. On the one hand, to me that doesn't feel right, but on the other hand it does give you more flexibility. And to put down more of a marker story-wise, we now have narrative events, which are supposed to make your choices feel more important. But for me it just felt like pick this, get some gold, pick that, get some science, so it's not exactly groundbreaking. And more important, it didn't really add anything else to the storyline. Okay, and next up are the visuals and the audio. Visually the game looks stunning. The cities feel alive and every building is individually placed on the map, which I thought was a nice touch. And for me, I thought the animations, they are quite solid, but they looked way too much like in Civilization VI. And then we have the world itself, it feels vibrant. And looking at the world, looking at the map, there's a lot going on, but it never felt like a mess. And one of the things I have always liked about Civilization is its music. And this one is no different. It's really cool, it's inspiring, it's grand. And it gets stuck in your head at 3 AM when you're still clicking one more turn. But on the other hand we have the voice acting, and this for me felt like a mixed bag. Don't get me wrong, some leaders they felt fantastic. But some of the other voice acting really sounds like crap.
Schwertgerechter Fano Himmeles, du bist wer muss it fürchten.
Le boulet qui doit me tuer n'est pas encore fondu.
So you would waste all the industry of your people on death?
Next up, let's talk gameplay. It's the bread and butter of any Civ game. The core mechanics we all know and probably all love are still there. Turn-based strategy, city building, diplomacy, war and scientific progression. But Civilization VII tries to introduce some big changes. For me, the biggest shift was the new age system. Instead of playing as one civilization from start to finish, you evolve yourself every few ages, picking a new culture along the way. The idea, it isn't too bad, but to me it felt all a bit too much like humankind. And furthermore, it also felt a bit arbitrary. Like, why does my Hawaiian civilization suddenly morph into the French? Just because I secured some wine? It is like the game is forcing change on you rather than letting you carve out your own historical path. And then we have the combat, which is fun, and which of course is all about strategy and cool animations. Now we have new army commanders, which lets you stack units and deploy them strategically, which I felt was a nice touch, which solved the restrictions of the one unit per tile and gives way more depth and versatility to the combat. But then we have the AI, which is still goofy. It loves settling in the worst places and throwing units at you like it's playing a tower defense game instead of a strategy game. And one of the things I felt that always makes Civilization shine is its diplomacy. And there's good news on that front, because it's deeper than before, with more layers to alliances, negotiations and even ideological clashes in the later game. And next we'll talk a bit about technical details and, unfortunately, bugs. And yeah, I know that the Civilization games are a bit notorious when it comes to bugs after their first launch. And yeah, no surprises here, Civilization is no exception. I really felt that the interface was the weakest point of this game, because it just doesn't give you enough information. I found myself digging through menus and clicking on everything I could see on the map just to get some basic details. And then there are the bugs, and let me start off with saying there are some bugs in this game I wouldn't have expected from a game like this. Luckily some of the bugs are just minor ones like weird animations and stuff, but there are others like the UI, which is glitchy and it really gets frustrating. For example, I wasn't always able to select units, I couldn't create trade routes, and lots of more stuff going on which really doesn't make sense and shouldn't be happening. I had buildings which got permanently stuck in production, I had units vanishing in thin air, and the AI doing things that were just eye-boggling stupid. But hopefully some future patches will resolve all these minor and major issues. One thing I did really like about the game is its performance. It runs really well with fast AI turns and smooth frame rates even in the late game. Okay, that was my breakdown. We covered some essential parts of the game, and now it's time to ask ourselves, should we buy this game or should we skip it? And let's start off first with my thoughts why I think you should consider buying this game. It still feels like good old Civ, and that one more turn addiction is alive and well. And I feel if you liked the previous games, then you will also like this one. And then there is the new army commander system, which makes combat more immersive, more alive, more diverse and more streamlined. And visually it's gorgeous, with a lively world and well designed cities. It's just a joy to watch your empire from a godlike view. And it does just enough, providing you with variety, with diplomacy and narrative elements, while they are flawed, adding some new flavor. And if Fire Axis sticks to their usual pattern, they will release loads of expansions, which will likely improve the diplomacy and narrative elements dramatically. But as it stands now, the game still has some issues which really need ironing out. So let's talk about reasons why you might want to skip this game for now. First off, the UI is frustratingly bad, making it really hard to get the info you need. And compared to the previous release games, they really took a step back here. And then we have the new age system, which to me felt forced rather than organic. And I really think that if you add a new addition to the game, then this should have been a key feature to develop thoroughly. to give gamers like us a new incentive to buy this game, instead of relying too much on the older mechanics. And the AI is still as dumb as ever, making diplomacy in war a bit of a mess, which is a real pity because the AI behavior is one of the keystones of this game. And bugs and policy issues might make it better to wait for a few patches. And while I'm working on this review, there are already some new patches released. I do really hope that the issues I encountered, and without a doubt other gamers have also had to endure, will be ironed out in these next patches. So that's my take. What do you think? Is it something you will jump into, or will you stick with Civ 6 for now? Drop your thoughts in the comments and please don't forget to subscribe for more reviews just like this. Until next time, and keep conquering the world, one turn at a time. See ya!